Yeah, there's been a lot going on today.
Yeah, there's a lot going on today. All right.
So let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. Today is, I've already lost the date, but today is October 18th. It's 7:04, and this is a meeting of the commissioners of Poolesville. I am here, it looks like Commissioner Eck is with us and Commissioner Reed is with us, joining by phone. And then we have our town manager, Tony Tomasello, as well as our attorney, Jay Gallo. And I'll go ahead and lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
Which is
one nation, under God,
one nation,
indivisible,
Well,
with liberty and
liberty
justice for all.
and justice for all.
Thank you. And we'll start off with our reports. I think we all probably have had a lot going on the last 2 weeks. And some of us attended the MML conference, which I'm still putting together a lot of my notes from that, but I will send those on to everyone. I'm sure Jeff has a lot of notes as well. And I'll probably just defer to most of Jeff's notes. I'm sure he took much better ones than I did. But overall, it was, I think it was a well-attended conference. What I hear from some of the staff is that their numbers were almost up to kind of normal times. Probably the most well-attended workshop was the one about the ARPA funding. And I definitely got a lot of ideas. I know that Tony and the staff already have a pretty complete plan in order for how we're going to be utilizing those funds, mainly with the water and wastewater facility. But it would be interesting to kind of take a look at some of the other ideas that came up in that session. I also just wanted to touch on a impromptu meeting that I ended up having yesterday with our county executive, Mark Elrich, after the Democratic luncheon yesterday. He was really nice to give me and Lynn Shaver some time to continue a conversation that we had started at the VIP breakfast on Poolesville Day about the idea of the community center. And I know this is a really big priority for all of us. So I did talk with Tony today a little bit about maybe some actions that we can start taking moving forward with this. We talked a lot about place for a community center. Obviously, the main county lands in Poolesville are where the high school is, and then also over where the county pool is located. And he was specifically very interested in the idea of a facility there co-located with the pool. In fact, there's a bit of precedence for this, and thanks to Lynn Coing, who I was texting furiously right before I had this meeting with Mark. But there is the Kingsview middle school / pool / community center, which is in the Germantown area. So county executive was quick to point out that that is an area that's not in an incorporated town. And then there's another precedent of Long Branch, which is a co-located community center / pool. So there are other examples of this happening in the county, and you know, obviously the question of funding came up. Could Poolesville or could the town or the possibility of corporate sponsorship be utilized so that we have some, you know, kind of quote unquote skin in the game to match county funding. A lot of the discussion was both about how to save money on such a project and how to keep a priority focus on building green. And he suggested, he really was interested in seeing some kind of a draft rendering, which is something that, you know, I'd like to talk with Tony and maybe our PR firm about. He said that he would be taking this conversation into his meeting with Seth Adams this week. So overall, he was interested, and it was an encouraging meeting. The other thing I wanted to mention about MML was our Sustainable Maryland certification. This is our third award that we've received, which is really neat on a lot of levels. I think that it shows that Poolesville has been doing a lot of sustainable practices for quite a long time. And it was interesting being at the conference and talking to other representatives from other municipalities throughout the state. And a lot of them had mentioned how they had just decided not to even go through the processes of putting together the Sustainable Maryland certification and trying to meet all of the criteria during the year of COVID. And so again, I think it's, you know, it's really quite a opportunity and quite a great goal that our Sustainable Poolesville committee set to complete this and get this award for the third time. So I wanted to commend Don Street and the whole Sustainable Poolesville board for making that happen. And I would love to agendize this for next time and actually you know, do something a little bit more official in giving our thanks to that committee, because that really was a lot of work. And the gentleman that runs Sustainable Maryland, I had a conversation with him, and he has some ideas for basically some other projects and initiatives that we could be looking at, that we could be doing easily in addition to what we've already been doing. And I know that he'll be having a conversation with Don about those, but it would be interesting to just invite him. And he was receptive to that, to coming to one of our next commissioner meetings. We have a lot of irons on the fire here. So UPN, the Up County Prevention Network, has been working with the Odd Fellows to put a mural, to get a student mural project going and up on their building on the corner of Elgin and Fisher. And UPN gave a presentation at the last Odd Fellows meeting about doing this, and it looks like it's a go. So I believe that we'll probably be having them come to one of our next meetings too, just to kind of give us an outline of what the plan is, and they'd like to roll that out pretty soon. I had a really good meeting with Elise Wenlin and Lori Savage about Farmers Market. And these are the two women who have been coordinating that this year. And it seems like they always have new, fresh ideas and creative ideas for how to expand farmers market. And it was just a good meeting to kind of talk about what can be planned for next year. And I know that we weren't able to have Tony on that meeting, but I know that we'll schedule another one soon so that he can talk more with them. And then lastly, I just attended what they're calling the People's Redistricting Commission. It was a forum led by several members of the community to look at the 3 maps that the Redistricting Commission has come up with, and that they'll be presenting this Wednesday, on Wednesday night. And so I was just peeking into that meeting right before getting on this one. And I'll send all 3 of those maps to everyone so you can take a look at them as well. And that's all I have. And I will go over to Jeff.
Well, mine is going to be really short because I was ill when we had the the Parks Board meeting, and then unfortunately I was trying to find the meeting so I could catch up on my notes on YouTube, and I couldn't find it there. So I don't have any update. I'll have to add that to my list for next time.
Okay, great. Ed, what would you like to add?
So I'll speak on 2 committees, and then Jeff, I'll probably be brief as well. Just in terms of Sustainable Poolesville, it's we haven't had our next meeting, so we'll have our next meeting. I'll bring updates that are in addition to what I shared at our last meeting. And just want to echo what Carrie was saying in terms of just the hard work that the Sustainable Poolesville Committee has been doing for the town of Poolesville. I think it's a great group. It's great to sit with them and just watch what they're doing. And I really think it's important to consider the feedback and suggestions that they've given for the master plan. So as that ball continues to move forward, I want to make sure that we are able to take some of their insight and make sure that stuff is incorporated inside the master plan as it goes through those proper channels. In terms of the Fair Access Committee, we had a great meeting last week, and that one was televised on YouTube. So that's one of the things that we want to make sure that we're doing with the Fair Access Committee. We're continuing to do some of the things we've been doing, the advocacy for the school, including advocating for the gym, as Carrie talked about with the community center. So we're continuing to push toward that. It's one of the things we want to do. There's something called a POR, and that's a program of resources. And so there's different steps that have to be followed before you can get a community center. But one of those big hurdles is getting listed on the program of resources. So we have some advocacy going toward there. One of the other things that we're looking at is long-term is being able to have the conversation about what's called a bubble over the pool. And so there's another concept. And so stay tuned, more to come on that. Some of the advocacy that we're also doing, we agreed that different members of Fair Access Committee will go to the county executive budget hearing. So Jim is over at the budget hearing right now that's in Germantown. Then other members will go to different parts where we can make sure that we have some visibility, not just at one budget hearing, but the goal is to at least one of us to go to every budget hearing and be able to continue to move the conversation forward with fair access to not just Poolesville, but those on the western side of Montgomery County. All right, Carrie, I'll turn it back to you.
Great, thanks. And so,
Hey, Carrie, do you want me to give a report for Martin on the Planning Commission
That'd
at
be
this
great.
stage?
Awesome, thank you.
Okay. Well, I did attend it was my first Planning Commission meeting last week. I think it was Wednesday. It was an introductory meeting between the Master Plan Consultants, Wallace Montgomery, and the Planning Commission of Poolesville. It was quite introductory, but it was a lot of good discussion about the approach that the commission wanted to take in expanding public outreach, in constructing a survey or multiple surveys. There were a good bit of discussion about how broad the vision might be, and how to capture as many voices as possible. I believe is a way of capturing where the commission was going with it. I found the conversation to be very interesting, and not nearly what I was expecting. Frankly, I was expecting something quite a bit drier than what occurred, which is great. The consultants received feedback from the members of the commission that were able to attend, and from Jay and myself, and they're going to go back after their introductory session and start constructing that survey. And I believe the next commission meeting will involve some sort of draft presentation of that. I'm not certain of that. I don't know if Jay heard something else, but I think that's the order of operations. But it was a productive meeting, and it seems like some structure is starting to coalesce about how the plan information is going to be gathered, and then subsequently how the plan itself is going to be rewritten.
Okay, thank you.
Tony, was there like a anticipated time frame to release the survey from Wallace Montgomery?
I want to say yes, but I don't know the answer. And I don't know if Jay remembers either, but I don't have a date for you.
I think they were very preliminary because they wanted to review the last one and come up, and then the planning commission wanted to get on the act. So I imagine you're still talking a couple 60 days away. I mean, I can't see it happening sooner than that.
And I reminded them.
The survey from 10, 11 years ago, I thought that was really still relevant. I mean, of course, the answers might change now 10, 11 years later, but the questions seem to be relevant today as they were then.
They were talking more about the mechanics of it, like how do you get feedback with not just checking a box and survey type people things.
Yeah.
And whether the survey could be interactive, and whether the survey is reaching as many different constituencies as possible. I reminded them, of other groups like Sustainable Poolesville, like the Economic Development Group that Carrie has assembled, that they also want to have a voice in constructing the survey. Preliminary to the writing the master plan.
Thanks, Tony.
So next on our agenda is approval of minutes from October 4th. Does anyone have any discussion or changes for those minutes?
Nope. Make a motion to approve the minutes from previous meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do we have anyone here joining us for public comment tonight? Sonny?
We do not.
Thank you. So we are without any new business, and so I will go to your town manager's report.
Sure. It's a pretty wide-ranging report tonight. Some of it's housekeeping and some of it's policy. I will start off with we were acknowledging the Columbus Day holiday last week, and I was reminded that in many communities it has also been kind of rebranded side by side and was what's known as Indigenous Peoples Day, and just reminding that I believe next October we will probably do the same. It's some people consider that a major point, some people a minor point, but it is, I believe, proper to promote both of those. We do close that day, and so you can just expect to see that next year. The long-awaited water report is now on my desk. I intend to. It's a lengthy report, and I'm not an expert in water reports. It does have an executive summary on the front page. We'll be sending that out in the next day or two for you to review. and then to the planning commission as well. Again, I really can't comment on it. I haven't been involved in it until it just kind of landed on my desk, but it's here, and I know that it's been long awaited by people because it talks about capacities and development capabilities and things like that.
Tony, I have a question for you. The very knowledgeable woman who created it, is the woman's name Mrs.
Mim.
Mim?
Mim.
Yeah, excuse me. So I had chatted with her once or twice, and I would like to suggest that we invite her to maybe come to a commissioners meeting to help explain, because I got a feeling that when I read it, it's going to be over my head, and
Yeah.
and maybe she can just help put it into more understandable language for us. So
Okay.
just an idea.
I'll reach out.
I just had like a 2-minute chat with her at Poolesville Day, and I just have the expectation that it's going to be, yeah.
It seems like a reasonable request.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't know if that's actually part of the contract. Often consulting contracts do
Okay, good point.
have at least one. I don't know if it is, but even if it isn't, I would expect that they should be willing to do that. But it
Okay.
might just be a question of timing.
Sure, thank you.
On the trash front, very quiet 2 weeks, thank goodness. I don't believe we received any trash related complaints over the last 2 weeks about missed pickups, et cetera. We did put a teaser ad out on the Facebook page asking people to wait or look for an upcoming survey about resident expectations about the next trash contract. Interestingly, there are no comments on that on the Facebook page. But the next phase will be to put it on the message board and then actually distribute the survey. We're kind of wrestling the survey into SurveyMonkey's format, but we think we have that done. I thank everybody for the feedback that we got on the survey itself. It's pretty much ready to go and will be out by the end of the month. And I think we should probably give it, at least 2 or 3 weeks, possibly a little bit more, to get as many responses as we can. Again, it's not really a referendum on people's satisfaction or dissatisfaction with the current carrier. It's really expectations about what the next contract should be, what people's values are about how environmentally responsible we can be, the number of pickups, their habits in putting trash at the curb. But that's going along pretty well.
So we should be knocking on a lot of wood.
Let's hope. Let's hope. Half the stuff I just said could have just jinxed everything.
Yeah.
And on the survey front, we have been working with our human resource consultants, MMC. I forget what the acronym is for, but that has been completed. The survey document has been completed, and I will be having an all hands meeting this Wednesday to distribute it to all 19 Poolesville employees. And it is asking for their opinion on a number of work-related items about their employment with the town of Poolesville. My talking points will be I really need 100% participation here. And if people are dissatisfied or they feel improvements can be made in their terms and conditions of their work or their workplace or their training, that now is the time. And so I will communicate that to the entire staff on Wednesday and hand out the survey. The survey is anonymous and it gets mailed directly to the consultants in Texas. So I will not be seeing the specific results. I won't be able to look at handwriting or anything like that. We'll just get we will get a report in a few weeks. And I think that informs not only the later personnel policies that we're also working with a consultant to develop, but also budget. Obviously, there will be budget issues as well. So it's in our best interest to get that done before the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
the current budget, no, I'm sorry, I skipped one. We are, we remember that at the last meeting, you all had discussed the introduction of 2 new committees. One a diversity committee and one a youth advisory board. Carrie and Ed and I are trying to set aside a time. We tried last week and it was kind of a swing and a miss because everyone's schedule just got away from them. But we're trying to set up a time to discuss how that's going to get kicked off, in order to get it kicked off, and then have I imagine Carrie and Ed would report back to you guys about how that's going, and what the plan is.
Would it make sense, since we have all 3 of us here, to try to put that on our schedule right now? Ed, what do you think?
Well, Ed's here, so that is a remarkable opportunity.
Yeah, that's a remarkable opportunity. Well, here's the situation. Maybe we look at Thursday. We're going to play it by ear because I have to take my daughter to an appointment on Wednesday. She had a concussion on
Oh, no.
yesterday. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm going to be
Oh,
on a
no.
doctor's schedule. But so maybe what we'll do is, if we do more so by text, because my schedule is going to be driven by some things I got to do at the home front.
Yeah, mine too. And I can tell you, and it sounds like we're going to get into the weeds here because my schedule is completely
All right,
out
well,
on Thursday. So.
Yeah, let's do it offline then. Sorry
Okay.
to hear that,
Let's-
Ed. I hope she's okay.
Yeah, yep, she's getting better.
Well, that's good. Okay, so the current FY22 budget includes an additional new position, administrative position in town hall, which I've been thinking about a lot. We have a lot of projects that don't have any ownership. And I think it's time to draft a job description for that and get it advertised. I'm thinking the working title will be assistant town manager, which I think is what was expected. But I do believe it's time to launch that. I've had some time to gather, how many initiatives really are still on the ground and need to get going. And it's going to take some time to recruit and hire somebody. So I think I had pushed that off for a few weeks to just kind of ponder what the person would be doing and where they would be located and those types of things. But I believe that it's time to move forward with that. So again, it's already in the budget. You've already technically approved it. So I'm just notifying people really that we're going to move forward with that particular drafting and hiring, hopefully sooner rather than later. But it's a very strange labor market right now. So there's only one way to find out, and that's to jump and see. So that's what we're going to do. I think those might be. That's right. Carrie already talked about the farmers market meeting. We did have, I guess this is for Jay and the commission. We did have a fairly major, and I believe you got an email about this, sewage backup incident at the Episcopal Church. Is that on Fisher? I think it's on Fisher.
Yeah. Mhm.
Where part of the system, the sewage system, failed over the weekend, subsequent to someone taking out a power pole. And there's a little bit of a gray area about the expectations for what the town's responsibilities are for damage to property. It caught me by surprise, I will say, that the expectation of the church was that the town was going to compensate them for things like lost revenue. And I'm certain that WSSC, for example, would never pay such a claim. It would be akin to, the water went out or the power went out and I lost all the food in my refrigerator. The town must compensate me. This is obviously on a massively larger scale, but we are investigating that, but that may be a policy that needs to be adopted at some point. Because luckily it was only one building, but it could have been multiple buildings. And, there are risks inherent in being in a utility system. Water gets shut off sometimes, power goes out, sewage backs up from time to time. And in general, it's my understanding that, the property owner is expected to insure against those types of risks. But I'm not an expert in this, and I don't know if Jay has ever come up against this. I remember, I was a member of the Legit board who does our property and casualty insurance, and this has been discussed from time to time. But I don't recall ever discussing things like lost revenue or anything but restoring the system to the property. So I don't have any more information than that. But I understand that this could be, a fairly controversial thing from this particular property owner, the church, that's going to become upcoming fairly shortly, and we'll probably have to have some sort of policy going forward that doesn't set precedents.
Is there any precedent for this in Poolesville?
We had a case of this before, because I remember there was a big push where we put backflow preventers. John would know more about that. But for this one that we've had, we should reach out to Legit, because there's a rider that they have, even if we don't buy it. And that might be a good policy basis for, pretend we did buy that insurance, what would it have covered, for example, to give us an idea. But you should talk to John about how we handled it, because we had a big problem and we needed backflow preventers put in. And I know the town paid for that somewhere.
Yeah, which is the reason. I mean, backflow preventer keeps fluid going one way and it can't come back the other way. And that makes sense as the owner and maintainer of the system. I was on, like I said, I was on a Legit board when they created that, the thing you were calling a rider. And it's pretty limited. I think it's about $20,000 or $25,000 per occurrence.
And I think it only probably covers property damage. I don't think.
I believe so.
Because I think I was on the board after you, and I remember we had a thing about that. So we should find out at least, because we can't be the insurer of people who might have other problems. I mean, the issue is also going to be where it gets too technical, but where is the backup? And a lot of backups are because of roots in the system. And if the backup is on their side of the curb stop, it's not ours, we can't fix it, but then we have a policy. So we really need to make sure we narrow that down.
Yeah, I mean, I would not think it unreasonable that they come, the church may come to the next meeting, and it'd be nice to be prepared with some answers. Obviously, we're going to try and handle it offline, but you just never know.
Tony, did either the pastor there or the owner of the preschool that does, has the preschool there in the basement of the church, did either of them send any kind of request today? I mean, they both said it to me,
They came into town
out loud.
hall. Yeah, they said it pretty loud in town hall too. They came in, and we contacted Legit while they were standing there, and Legit reached out to them today, which is typical for Legit. They like to see the damage as it happens in order to get the most accurate picture.
Good.
I believe that is the last of yes, that's the end of my report.
Hey, Carrie, I'm going to jump in for a second.
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's a nice tune. Keeps everybody on their toes. All right. So just real quick, one of our residents, he actually had sent me a message. He had went to the town hall because he thought we were going to be there. And this is John Walsh, and he wanted, because he was going to volunteer, had he been in person, he was going to volunteer to be the liaison for, let me pull it up real quick, with the town representative for Canal Towns. So I don't know if we have to put it on the agenda, but I just wanted to share that because he was going to share that had he been at the meeting physically. But if we're looking for a representative for Canal Towns, John, some of you might know John. He's done a lot with some of our senior groups. He's done a lot with Monocacy aqueducts. And so he's currently working with the park to install new mule curbs at the Monocacy aqueduct. And he's meeting with the superintendent to discuss restoring Seneca aqueducts. So if we need someone to be a volunteer, John is putting his hat in the ring. And so, Tony, that might be, if that's something you're trying to have filled, I can have John get in touch with you If it's something that you got to go through a larger process, that's fine. But I definitely told John that I would share that with you.
It's John Walsh or Walls?
Waltz. I'll spell that
Walsh.
for you. Waltz. WOLZ.
LC.
Yep.
those
I
are
think
me-
Carrie just went to a Canal Towns meeting and said,
So that was
ring a
the,
bell?
yeah, that was the conference. So I've been attending those meetings, but yeah, it would be great to have John attend them too. I mean,
And he's
I know
watching us on
everybody
YouTube.
thinks of John as like the sort of, he's he's kind of the one that knows everything about Canal. And when I did go to the Canal Towns conference, everybody knew John. So
And
yeah,
John
that'd be
knows his stuff. He's a
that'd be
good guy.
wonderful.
All right. Well,
Okay.
John's listening. So John, you
Yeah,
can get
I'll
in
reach
touch
out to
with
him
Tony.
too.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be
All
happy
right.
to.
Thank you.
That'd be great. And at this time, we'll adjourn to our closed session. I think someone needs to make a motion to do that.
Sure. I motion that we adjourn and go to our closed session.
A second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. All right. Thanks, everyone. And are we moving to a different Zoom now?
I've never done this, but there is a command that